Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. If you don't know me, my name's Tom Springer and welcome to my show. For those of you who do know me, welcome back. If you're here, you know that it's Monday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 Hawaii. Hold on, I gotta do the math again really quick. 7 here, 6 a.m. in Indonesia, and I don't know, you're anywhere from 15 to 17 hours ahead of us over in Australia. So welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here, as always. I do have a very special guest on, and I will explain how I met her once I bring her on, but I want to bring her on because I'm really excited to have her here. I've been looking forward to this one. So everyone, please say hello to Miss, holy cow, Kelli Miller. I'm reading her stuff, and I see the psychic medium first, so I didn't want to call her psychic medium Kelli Miller, but I did. But anyways, here she comes. Hi, Kelli.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
Hi. So I want to tell everyone how we met first and what drew me to you. I kind of started, this is kind of my opening thing now. And you are local to me, and I came across you at 2 different places. The first one I came across you was, it wasn't Mystic Fest, it was the one before that. The Holistic Expo. So I saw you there. And the very first time I saw you, you were running around like a mad woman because you were so busy with so many people at your table, but you stopped for a second because a person at your table was having problems with her back. Mm-hmm. And you walked over and you kind of put your hands on her and you kind of like did a couple of things and everything else. And then it seemed to really help her. And I was like, cool. So I was like, very new to me. So I was like, all right. And then I walked by you and I had this, and when I find people I want to talk to locally, I have this big burst of energy that hits me that says, there's an energy source over there that you need to go talk to. And I walked by you and I was with my wife. And I was like, okay, but you were swamped. So then I walked around the place and I kept coming back to you a couple more times and you were more swamped because more people were coming in. And apparently, like me, everyone else was drawn to you, so I couldn't get my way in. So I finally waited until we were getting ready to leave. That was literally like 2 hours later. And you were still so busy that you hadn't had a chance to stop yet. I watched you leave once, and that was to run to the restroom and come back, and I didn't want to stop you at that point. But I finally waited, saw an opening, ran over to you, said hi to you, handed you a card. You handed me a card back and said, or you wrote down a phone number and said, call me when I'm not in this hectic mode and we'll talk. And I've been excited about this show ever since.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on. So I didn't want to talk this out here because I do have people saying hi. That is my wife right there who's saying hello to you.
Hi, Nicole.
And then you have Miss Jolene who's coming on to say hello.
Hello.
And Lori Brecky.
Hi, Lori. I know Lori.
Is Lori Wayne Brecky?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, I had Wayne on my show earlier. So
yeah, he's a great guy. They're both wonderful people. Oh my gosh,
fantastic. In fact, I met Wayne the same time I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, welcome. Thank you for coming onto the show. And if you would, please introduce yourself and tell those who aren't local who you are and what you do.
So my name is psychic medium Kelli Miller. Currently, I got a lot of irons in the fire. So right now, I'm actually bowing out from doing individual readings. I've been doing individual readings full time for over 10 years. I was also doing a live audience tour. And then I've also written a program called Enlightenment Academy to teach the next generation of psychic mediums, because when I was learning, I didn't learn hardly anything. Right. So not only that, my husband and I also co-own a crystal metaphysical store called Awakenings on about 147th and Maple here in Omaha. And not only that, we decided to franchise on top of it. So now we have 4 franchisees under our belt, which is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lincoln, Nebraska, and then we'll be opening up another one in Phoenix, Arizona here shortly within about a month and a half.
Ooh, awesome.
So between all of that and, like I said, individual readings, I kind of had to take a step back. I still have 1 kiddo here, but I have a 17-year-old son, and then I have a 19-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old stepdaughter as well. So yeah, I'm still still being a mom and yet juggle all this stuff too. So yeah.
Yeah, and you also do everything online too for the store. So they're right there. You can see it down below me, theawakeningstore.com.
Yeah.
Make sure you go visit there because it's a fantastic store. Nikki and I frequent it quite often. Wow, words are going to be hard for me today on a Monday night. And this is about where, I don't know, a quarter to a third of my paycheck goes. So just so we're aware, it's an awesome store for basically anything you're looking for. So go out there and check that store out. I will be posting that up here quite a few times. So, but yeah, holy cow. Yeah, everyone's already popping in. Just boom. Yeah, let's see. We're already getting, my stuff is running really slow right now. And I think it's you and me.
Yeah. You and I are both kind of EMF sensitive. So I made sure to have a backup to a backup because I'm not good with electronics. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it's even worse. So we're just going to roll with it and see how it goes.
Yeah. I even warned Nikki beforehand. I told her, hey, I'm getting ready for this. And my screen is already bouncing on me a couple times.
Mine's doing it. So is the light above too. So you might see my lights kind of do the little wonky thing, but.
Well, Randy's popping in to say hello. So is like 9,000 other people. So Tracy's popping in to say hello.
Hi, everybody.
And we're getting confirmation that at least we know that everything was good on their side. So we're not
good. Good deal.
And Jamie is saying, yes, she is also blaming Mercury because today, wowzers. And Jamie is also responding with, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah.
She's down there. So thank you for sharing, Jolene. I appreciate it. So everyone knows I asked this first question out of the gate. How did you start with your abilities? What made you want to learn more, and what kind of drew you into doing what you do now?
Well, when I was married with my ex-husband, I remembered when I was 19, I shut this stuff down. And so I just remembered literally praying one night and saying, you know what, God, I'm an adult. I can handle it. Bring it. Go ahead and turn it back on. Well, yeah. So at that time, I didn't know exactly what I was going through, which was a spiritual awakening in that whole process. So I eventually... I got to a point where I couldn't stand the way my husband was even breathing at the time. So I had to leave. I'm like, I'm out. And I ended up leaving him for actually another guy. And I ended up leaving. I cheated on with the guy. And at the time I had a landscape business and I ended up selling it. And so then I moved to Blair, Nebraska. And I had to find a job. And right then and there, the banker called and said, Kelli, unfortunately, we got some bad news here. They decided not to sign on the dotted line. So you're going to have to come back and finish the job. And I was like, you know what? No way. So I filed for bankruptcy. I had absolutely nothing. They took everything I owned, including my car, because I put that up for collateral. I went to go to HHS to see if I could qualify for food stamps or WIC or anything like that. And I made $5 too much with my paycheck. So I did not qualify. So I ended up going to my little brother asking for a car. I went to the local garden center. I ended up getting a job there. And so at the time, I was really working really hard trying to, get money. I eventually saved up enough money to be able to buy a trailer. Right. And when I was at that trailer, one of the girls was like, my kids were at their dad's and they were like, you want to go to a party? I'm like, yeah, let's go, So I went to this party and there was a guy there. And he kept talking about his dad and how his dad's been gone and how he misses his dad. And I mean, he just kind of kept complaining about it. And I'm thinking, well, I lost my dad, but it's been like 8 years. You should kind of be over it. Well, he kept talking and I kept drinking and he kept talking and I kept drinking. And eventually he said something else. And I said, I don't know why the hell you're so upset. Your dad is right behind you. He's got rainbow suspenders, a black and white label beer. And he was smoking a cigarette. I said, he was the life of the party then. He's still the life of the party now. And I went to go turn around and my friends just went sheet white. And they're like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, because he's right behind there. And it was the next day. I didn't think anything of it. The next day, people were coming to the garden center asking me if I could read them. Wow. And I'm like, I don't read people. Like, I manage the garden center. That's not what I do.
Right.
And then it was about 3 or 4 days of that. My boss was like, you got to do something about this, because these people are just coming to you, wanting to talk to you, and they're not buying nothing. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So at that point, as a single mom, I'd put my kids to bed, and then I would have somebody come to the trailer and I would give them a reading. And it blew up very quickly. And soon after, people were asking me if I could do psychic parties. I'm like, sure, why not? So I started doing that. And then that just snowballed into, I had to end up quitting my job, and then I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? This doesn't work out. I go back to working at the garden center,
Right.
no big deal.
Yeah.
But that was 10 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. So
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. So, but yeah, it literally started because I had too much to drink and I got mouthy. So
Weird.
gee.
So I haven't gotten to the part where I'm starting to read people yet. Well, not all the time. Sometimes someone will say, and it kind of happens the same way it did with you. I had one person that I'm friends with, and they were just kind of talking. He's actually a friend of mine on only through online. And we used to be part of the same network together online. And he ran a political show where I ran this. And he ended up saying something about how I just wasn't doing well and everything else. And I mentioned his dad. And he was like, whoa, wait. He goes, you need to understand, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in any of this. So I don't care what you say. It's not going to happen. So I said, well, that's weird, because your dad's standing next to me, he has his hand on his shoulder. He's telling you everything's going to be okay. He's like, describe him. And I did. And he was with his wife, and his wife went, oh, and she went and got a picture. And he was kind of sitting there. He's like, all right, hold on. I don't know how you knew what he looked like. So then I started saying things. And I started saying what his dad, we talked about this off air, but his dad was talking to me using specific wording and everything else. And he goes, only my dad would know how to say that, or what to say, and how that happened. And so from that 15, 20-minute conversation, he went from I'm a skeptic and being, I don't know what to do anymore, to his wife telling me this is exactly what he needed.
Yep.
And now he completely, that one conversation apparently has changed everything he told me.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, now I'm a believer, and I know my direction in life because that 15-minute conversation we had. So those are the little things I still do. I don't do the readings like you do, but those are just the little ones that come to me every once in a while. And it seems to be when someone needs it. Is when it's told to me.
Absolutely.
Laura says she loves the story, and Miss Jolene says amazing. Stuart is actually on here. Hi, Stuart. Stuart is one of my gentlemen who watches from Texas. He tries to come on here as much as he can. His network is like ours. It's very sketchy, but it's not because he breaks. It's just because where he is it's just bad connection. So hopefully he'll be able to stay on and watch the whole thing with us. So, so now here you are, 10 years later, running 4 stores, about to be 5, or overseeing 4 stores, about to be 5. You have, I'm doing this now because I want to post it up here first, 2 different places where they can go find your information right here. So everyone go take a look at this. We have facebook.com over there, and then you have our own site right here. And I will actually copy and paste this into the comment section so people will be able to pull it for themselves. Go out and look at these sites. I did that. I always warn people that I Facebook stalk you, or I just stalk you out in general. Bad choice of words, but if you knew my medical or my military background, stalking and hunting is a perfect word for me to use. So, but I went through the sites and everything else, and just your main page on this one right here, the psychickelly.com, has so much information just in general. And then it talks because you talk about your life, like basically how you got started is right out there. And then if you scroll further down, you have all your events and upcoming seminars and everything else that's going to take place too. And people need to understand who are on here that even though you and I know each other locally, not all your stuff is done locally.
Right.
You are all over the place. You're online. You can do stuff. You travel to do stuff. You're everywhere. And so it's amazing. So I would tell people now, and I will tell you again at the end of the night, go out and check out these 2 sites that you see right down here too after we're done, and take a look and see if there's anything interesting that you want to talk to Kelli about. So while you're doing that, let me go ahead and grab that so I can copy it. Again, my stuff does not want to work right now, but yeah, so you're taking a break because you're ungodly busy right now.
Yeah.
Which is obviously true with as much as you've been doing lately, and I've been watching it happen. So I was actually very happy that I can squeeze you into here. For those people who don't know, I'm sorry, I laughed because Jamie posted, "You're explaining yourself to a psychic she knows." So, yes, I know. But my wife and I saw that you were out recently at a crystal and rock show. And then, oh my goodness, you cannot put stuff like that online and share it with others, because if my wife would have known that she could have gone, I would have had to sell my house. He was like, "I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I want that," and I was like, "Oh my goodness." So,
it's hard even for me to not get things for me personally. That's like really hard not to do. So really hard. And it's hard. There's so many goodies that, you Eric and I will go in with a budget, but now I'm also teaching my franchisees what's a good deal, what's not.
Right.
And it's a little overwhelming. Now, last year we brought home like 3.5 pallets. This year we brought home 6.
Woo.
So
yeah. Nikki was watching behind you as you walked around. She's like, "See that table? It says $5 for cabochons." Like, she was just like amazed. She's like, "I want those." And so she has a question for you. Your first question is, what made you open up your first crystal shop?
It was kind of natural. When I was here in Elkhorn doing individual readings, a couple people would ask me because I would say, "You need to take a sea salt bath." And they were like, "Well, where do I get sea salt?" And I realized, well, why the hell don't I just put some in a jar, slap a label on it, and call it good? Put some little, scents in it. And that's exactly how it started. And then afterwards, people were like, "Hey, where do I get a pendulum from?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess I could start selling a pendulum." So I just had 2 bookshelves of a few crystals, a few bath salts, and some pendulums. And once people found out that I had that at the store and sage, it just kind of like snowballed. And how it really ended was my, at the time, Eric and I were dating, and he came over one day and he poured himself a drink right out the gate. And I was like, "Geez, bad day, hun?" And he was like, "Yeah." And at the time, he was kind of a stockbroker. And he said, "I got somebody like a 20% return on their investment." And they were pissed that I didn't give them 25. And geez. Out of nowhere, I said, "Well, you can always just quit your job and start a business with me." I'm like, "We could sell rocks and stuff." I said, "You can go from selling stocks to rocks." And I'll never forget, he put his drink down and he kind of put it on the counter and he looked at me and he goes, "You know what? I'm in. I hate my job. I'm in. Let's do it." I'm like, what? We were dating at the time. We weren't even engaged. We weren't even engaged. And so I thought, you know what? He does the finances. I can help promote the store. And I'm like, why not? Let's give it a shot. So we both invested, half, 50-50. We both invested money. We happen to have enough saved up that we invested that money, and we were able to recoup that at a fairly quick rate.
Right.
And so we literally just kept putting money into the business, and then it just really took off. So, and I knew more people were going to start to go through a spiritual awakening. So it was kind of funny because I called my best friend and I'm like, "I don't know what we should name our store." And she was like, "Awakenings, duh." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Yeah.
That's that whole Occam's razor thing right there.
Yeah. And so, like I said, so he, it didn't take much. And then it was weird because once I decided to do that, that was in like June. Well, July, my lease was up. So yeah. And then I said, "Well, I'd like something like this and this." I was used to leasing commercial real estate. So he wasn't used to that. We found a spot. I negotiated a deal right then and there. And he was like, "What did we just agree to?" So I'm like, "It's good. Trust me." Yeah. So, but the day that we got our keys, we put the key in the door, and I'll never forget, there was an owl right above us, and it looked down at us, and we were looking up at it, and it was like, "Ooh, ooh," and we were like, oh wow. He's like, "I think I'm gonna call that a sign." I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's a good sign.
Yeah. So, pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty sure it's a good sign.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I hate to say it was easy, but it was easy. Everything fell right into place. There was no stress. I mean, we had one disagreement. That was it. Disagreement. It wasn't even an argument. And that's when my mom was just like, okay, if you didn't even have an argument with him and you opened up a business and it's successful, maybe you should marry him.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the night of our grand opening, he proposed.
Oh, nice.
So, and then we actually went and eloped. We eloped November 11th. So we eloped and got married on November 11th at 11:11 a.m. So.
So even the timing, literally.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Nikki said it must have been meant to be.
Yeah, and we didn't tell anybody either. We shocked everybody. About a year later, we brought him down to Sedona and we had a wedding ceremony. But I made the announcement. I'm like, you're not here to celebrate a wedding, and everybody was like, what? I'm like, you're here to celebrate a 1-year anniversary. We were already married. Surprise! Both he and I looked at my mom like either she's going to be happy or she's going to kill us. One of the two. And we looked and she was like, that's fine. I'm like,
I'm going to live through this.
Okay. All right. That's good. So
a couple of people are back here commenting on the whole you going rock hunting or shopping. Like
yes.
Jamie saying, if spirit guides you, you got to bring them all home.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Amy says, get what calls to you, but then again, they usually all call to me, which is my problem.
And so I you know what I did is that I'm having a huge, on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a live crystal show, and all of the things that I'm going to be showing on Wednesday are not on the floor. They're my extra pretties. The extra pretties that I got for a deal. So whatever doesn't sell, I put on the floor. But Wednesday night, I have a big live sale that's just for the cool stuff that I'm like hoarding like a freaking squirrel. And I've got these boxes all over, but they're so cool.
I'm waiting for the comment to pop up from my wife. and Mr. William Nighthawk popped in and says, I just hang from a chandelier and kick my legs as a pendulum.
Hey, that'll work. Is that a yes or a no?
And then he said, oh wait, oops, that chandelier thing was a drinking night. Sorry.
It wasn't on video. Come on now.
I'm sure he does have it on video. He's with us. And see, yes, there are the comments. Nikki's, that's dangerous. That's your crystal show. That's dangerous. Tracy saying, I love the crystal shows. And then, we got more. I mean, geez, there's just so many people. Love the stores, vids, everything. So, yeah.
That's the other thing is I do a lot of Q&As because I think that there's a lot of people that either are curious to know what I do for a job or they've had experiences themselves and they don't know exactly, was it their parents? Was it a family member? Was it a spirit guide? Was it, what was it? So I do 6 Q&As on different social media platforms every month. And that includes a metaphysical Q&A, which is, how your emotions are tied to disease in the body. And then I do a crystal Q&A as well.
Huh.
So I do those in the evening after I get done working.
Oh, so you have all kinds of free time then, but not really. But not really. So I do want to kind of do a quick introduction to people who don't know, who haven't been on here before, because you're bringing in a lot of new people onto this show. So I kind of want to give them an understanding of what this platform is for and why I wanted to bring you on. Ultimately, so my show, as everyone knows, is right above me, called Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. And it was designed because I talked with you about this, but I am very new to the paranormal and gifted world. I've only been doing this now for a little over a year. My show is not even a year old. I've only been doing this since January of this year. But I created this because it was designed to have people come in who wanted to know about abilities, thought they had abilities, wanted to learn about them, and have a place to come talk to for people who already knew, such as yourself, and are helping others learn about their abilities. And this really gives them a place to come and talk to a community to where if they have questions, they can come and ask. I have so many different people, though, in my audience, way over there on the other side of you, that have been a huge help. And we talk about everything. We're talking about this right now. We talked about, I do cryptids. We talk about star seeds. We talk about interdimensional work, time and physical. So we talk about both the dimensional things, which is my nerd side that I really get to geek out on, and I really
do too.
yeah. So and I have people that are coming on that have no abilities at all, but do paranormal investigations, and they want to share their findings with us. And I kind of have the whole gambit of what anyone who hasn't been part of an awakening yet would call weird, odd, or just wrong. And that's really why the show was designed, was to have this place come in here so people can come in like us and talk and everything else. And I like to have people like you come on, because you're not only just an outstanding person overall, but there's so many other parts and levels of you that people can learn from. They can learn from your psychic ability. They can learn from your entrepreneurship. They can learn the fact that we haven't even touched on the fact that you're a life coach.
Yep.
And stuff like that. We haven't. I mean, that's another discussion we're going to talk about. So, so for those people who are new, thank you for coming on. Thank you for following Kelli over here to come watch tonight. I appreciate it. But this is really what the show is supposed to be designed for. Is exactly what Kelli's on here for. So thank you for being here. And so I am having more questions like this one, which I figured, will Kelli be doing any more live shows soon?
Right now, with as tight as my schedule is, I can't. I mean, I literally do not have a weekend open until almost December. So that's like I have every day, every evening, and then every weekend booked right now with different events. Like I'm doing Mystic Fest this weekend, so I'll be there this weekend. So yep, I'll be at Mystic Fest this weekend. Love that. So it's just like things like that. I just, unfortunately, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping I can here, especially next year when I get to be able to retire from doing individual readings. So that way I can go back to doing those live shows.
Right.
So I loved them. I enjoyed them. And I think my audience enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
And I was going, I mean, I was doing about 2 a month in different cities. So I was going all the way from Minneapolis to Denver, down to Kansas City, over to Des Moines. So, I mean, I was really kind of going all over there.
Yeah. And it was, and I appreciate the short YouTube clips you do.
Yeah.
You'll just pop on your phone and you'll just talk about kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And when you talked about Mercury retrograde right now, and you're kind of like, all right, everyone, hold on. This is about to get bumpy and just hang in there type of thing. And it was really cool because it was something that I knew what was going on. But then when you talked about it, I started paying attention to the other people around me and how it was affecting them as well. For me, I'm pretty good about guarding and blocking and doing pretty good in this crazy world because I'm too dumb to know any better is what I tell people. So I kind of block it all out just because I'm an idiot. So it doesn't really bother me. But I was starting seeing how it affected other people around me. I'm like, oh, what you're saying really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other of my friends that are over there on that audience as well, that they post stuff as well. And they're all talking about the same thing. And you're all talking about the same things that are happening in one way or another. And it is pretty wild that it all makes complete sense about why I shouldn't just reach over and slap the shit out of somebody right now at this time frame.
Yeah, that's why I'm like the Karens are going to come out in full force. Just be careful.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. September was a very unpredictable month for just about everybody.
Yeah.
It was either going to be pretty decent or we were all going to crawl in a hole and cover ourselves up and just not talk to people. And I'll tell you, that's pretty much exactly what just about everybody did. And I knew it was going to be extremely challenging for those with mental health issues. So I don't like spreading fear. I hate doing that. And I really try not to do that. But at the same time, I want people to understand that, if their bestie is having a freaking meltdown, then they know what the heck's going on and maybe, some of the causal factors behind that.
Yeah, it's not go hide in a box, but it's just be aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
Thing. So, and it was perfect for that. So Nikki does want to know, what do you say to people who are just learning that they may have abilities? What is the best advice you can give someone?
Perfect. baseline foundation is you got to learn how to meditate. And I will tell you, with somebody that has ADHD, that sucks. It freaking sucks because there is no cheat code to meditating. But I will tell you, I'm pretty non-traditional. I am not going to sit there in full lotus position and do this Om shit. It ain't going to happen. I don't have it. I'm not going to happen. So a lot of times I'll take my coffee. I'll go sit outside, watch the birds. Maybe I got only 5 minutes to meditate in the car because, you got toddlers. So the baseline foundation is learning how to control your thoughts. But I am fully aware that until you see those numbers 1111, until you see that number especially, it's going to be hard for you to meditate up to that point. So don't get too discouraged, because I think a lot of people, when they try to meditate, they expect themselves to just not think of anything. And I'm like, no, you have a chipmunk on cocaine in your brain that doesn't know how to do that. So no, you got to train the chipmunk, and not going to happen right overnight. It honestly took me over 2 years to get to 20 minutes. And I'll never forget one time I was crying. I was really upset because when I get pissed, I cry. And I was really upset at myself. And my spirit guide came to me and he goes, "Do you know why you're so mad right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because I can't meditate." And he goes, "No, it's because you can't even stand yourself." And I was like, oh crap, I got a lot of work to do. But he was right. I couldn't sit still long enough. And it was because I didn't even know myself to be able to stand myself. So that's when I took this a little bit more seriously. But first thing, you got to learn how to meditate. And the second thing, play with it. I think everybody's so scared. And I'm like, well, quit watching scary movies. So like I said, and at any point in time, if something freaks you out, you ask for angels to come by and take care of that shit. They will. So like I said, don't focus on the negative, for Pete's sakes. It's good stuff.
And my audience knows, well, the audience that knows me knows, and I tell them every time, I get yelled at so many times from so many people about the fact that I do not meditate. I do, everyone of course does. They just don't know they're doing it. But to consciously try to meditate, I tell people I'm so lazy. It's just hard.
I did learn though I like guided meditation. So there's a ton of them. I mean, I wrote a book called 10 to Zen. Yeah, it's got some meditations in there, but there's a lot on YouTube for free. So like I said, if you don't have a lot of money, YouTube's full of free videos on YouTube that you can listen to. So I like the guided meditations because of my squirrel brain. So those are nice.
Oh, I'm gonna interrupt this really quick. I'm gonna throw this up there really quick. It's kind of an advertisement towards myself, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut into you really quick. But this is also pushed out to William Nighthawk too. He's letting everyone know that Friday night he's doing a Red Rabbit Hole podcast when I'm actually on a show, and we're gonna break down the divine matrix and spiritual power. So for those people who are really interested in stuff like that, Friday night, you're going to be able to watch that with Mr. William Nighthawk and myself too. I will let people know that Nighthawk is Indigenous person, veteran, like I am. And he is one that is actually starting to help me understand my Native American side of me, which I have no one else in my family that is able to do that at all in any way, shape, or form, because they've either passed on or I am not in contact with them. But I'm that weird mix of Native American and Nordic, Norse. So I have a lot of weird stuff in my background that I'm trying to figure out. He's trying to help me with half of it. But you have people like Jamie now saying she has to find you on all the platforms. So Amy wants to know, when did you know this was your calling?
I'll be real with you. I took it as a joke for a while. I'm like, what, you can't see that coming from a mile away, or that's written all over your face? Like, I didn't realize that was a figure of speech and that people couldn't do that. But what really made me take it seriously, and when I knew that I really did have these abilities that most people don't have, was I was living in the trailer, and my son was seven years old at the time. And you know how 7-year-olds are, like, they keep getting out of bed. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I'm like, oh, I finally got him to bed. And then a lady came in. I did the psychic reading on her. Okay, no problem. Then I flipped over to the mediumship side, and her 7-year-old son, who drowned, came out from back behind her. And I just realized, my God, she's coming to me wanting to know if her son is okay on the other side. And I just had the luxury of putting my kid to bed. This isn't a joke. And the next day, I was driving to the garden center and I said, all right, God, angel, spirit guides, and anybody else who knows me, if I'm supposed to do this shit in the Bible Belt of Nebraska, you had better prove it. And that day I was hungry. So I went to Burger King and the line was going out all the way to China. So I decided to just go inside to be faster. So I went inside and the kid, I'll never forget, he turns around, looks at me and he goes, do you want a medium pop? I'm like, I'm sorry? And he goes, do you want a medium pop? I'm like, yeah, I'll have a medium pop with a cheeseburger and fries. I'm like, okay, that was weird. Yeah. Mine's only coming 3. So I sat in my car, eat my cheeseburger and fries, stuff in my face, right? Turn on the radio, and they're talking about the Long Island medium. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I thought, well, all right. So I'm driving to go over my lunch hour to go let my dog outside. So I go home, and a lady calls me up on the cell phone, and she said, hey, Kel, do you remember telling me to go to the doctor? I'm like, well, yeah, because I thought she had like endometriosis or something going on. And she goes, Kelly, I have stage 2 uterine cancer. Thank you so much for telling me to go to the doctor. You saved my life. I'm like, you're welcome. Right then and there, I picked up the phone. I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm just letting you know I'm going to quit my full-time salary paying job and I'm going to go do this. And she was like, for the love of God, go back to church. So, and like I said, that I literally quit. I put in my 2 weeks notice that day and I didn't look back. So, but.
So Jamie is confirming what you were talking about meditation. Meditation is the same for ADHD squirrels, which is true. And I'm pretty sure that's where I am. I always tell people squirrel quite often. And she says, I have ADHD. And so I get this and I have problems with meditating.
That's why I'm like, I'm so frustrated with some of those teachers. They're like, let's just imagine the thoughts going away like clouds. I'm like, my brain doesn't work that way.
Right.
I'm like,
right. No.
I'm like, no.
Way too many things going on. I tell people that it's funny because I have so much room in my brain because there's nothing up there that there's just stuff just running around.
Yeah, it rattles.
Can't
it's all good.
Mm-hmm. And then, see, Josie was saying tried guided meditation first. I still have to. And then that's Nikki saying too. What she does mostly so she has something to focus on. I'm sure she knows this, William. But William is saying that you have so much energy around you right now. Yes, I can actually physically see the glow around you right now.
That happens.
Yeah, I can literally see it like radiating off of you.
Give this about 10 more minutes and you'll start to see like my spirit guides show up too. And you'll start to see you'll see like orbs and weird crap. So and I'm with you. I used to be a paranormal researcher. So I'm very logical, believe it or not, even though I may be a medium, but I'm very logical because I'm like, if a door opens, I'm like, hey, the wind probably did it. Let's make sure the wind can't do that. So I'm a very logical person, but some of this stuff I can't. I'm like, well, I know what that is, but I can see it, but I forget that sometimes they can see it too.
Yeah, so. and I can tell you, I mean, so anyone who's listening to us right now, I can tell you that I have been talking to you since about 10 minutes before the show, and the glow off of you right now that I can see radiating off of you was not there when we first started talking.
Yeah, that happens.
It was when we started talking. You have that boom around you. It almost looks like there's a filter effect that's going on.
And I get really, my favorite thing to do, which my passion is teaching. That is my purpose. You know, I love teaching people. I love helping people, especially when it comes to figuring out their own spiritual development, personal development as well, because they go hand in hand. It's a mind, body, soul connection. They go hand in hand, just like a triangle. Yeah. And, you know, if your mind ain't right, your body ain't going to be right. Your soul ain't right, your mind won't be right. So I've been doing this long enough that for me, it's very easy. But, you know, I notice patterns that I just notice patterns easy. And, you know, a long time ago, people are like, oh, you're a teacher. I'm like, I'm not a teacher. I'm like, nah, I'm a teacher. Yeah. So I see that now.
And that's kind of what I've been told. I've been told that I'm either going to be a teacher or a healer or both, which is funny because right now I'm an instructor for the military.
Well, you're a teacher, but.
Yeah. Right. But once I learned about my abilities, I kind of kept them to myself for a little bit because I was still trying to see if I had to stop getting confirmation from people and understanding that what I was hearing was correct.
Yeah.
And once I started realizing that, I started sharing my abilities with people at work. And all of a sudden they're like, wait, what? And so they started asking me questions, and I started, for some reason, Nikki knows this about it. It's really weird. I don't carry crystals unless I think someone is, I don't even know why I pick them up, but sometimes I'll pick them up, I'll put them in my pocket, I go to work. Something will happen at work. I'll take a crystal, I'll give it intention, I will charge it, and I'll hand it off to that person. I'm like, hold this for the rest of the day.
Yep.
And they're like, okay. And then they'll give it to me back at the end of the day. Like, what just happened? Because that was amazing. I'm like, I don't know. I was just told to do that. And then people are like, okay, you got to tell me more. So that's kind of how it happened to work.
Well, it doesn't help when you want a crystal store, because I'm like, here, you need this. Just here. My husband's like, we need to make money. Stop it. I'm like, well, they need it. So a lot of times I'll carry crystal. Like, I'm with you. I wear the rose quartz once in a while, and black tourmaline if I feel like, I need to be grounded a little bit more. But that's really about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm with you. If I do have a crystal in my pocket, 9 times out of 10, I'm giving it to somebody. I don't know who, but they'll show up. Right. And they do.
Yep.
So I don't even question it. I'm like, well, all right.
And on top of that, 9 times out of 10, it turns out that when I'm done with it, I hand it back to them. And I go, this really is supposed to belong to you, not to me. That's why I put it in my pocket today. I may have purchased it, but I purchased it knowing it was going to go to someone else.
And to be honest, I think when you gift something such as a crystal tarot card deck, something like that, it's right on the money. That's exactly what they need. And it's a weird energy exchange when you do that to help somebody else out, because karmically it'll come back to you. It always does. Always does.
Yeah. I just do it because that's how I know what to do. I mean, I don't know any different. That's just how I am.
Yep.
And William is right. He says, I don't meditate, I play golf, which is very true.
And that's half. I mean, if you're not thinking about it, I mean, that's meditating. That's pretty much, that counts as a half meditation. I'll count that as half. That's a half.
And there's times that if I go out on my own, I literally put headphones in so I can't hear anything around me, and I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not even focusing on my golf. I'm not thinking. It's just emotion I go through. Yep. But it's just a place for me to get out and move around and not be sitting still.
And that, therefore, you're meditating. That's like what I tell people is that when you're sitting there and like staring at a wall and there's nothing going on in your brain, that is meditation. Right. That's a lot of times, especially before you go to sleep or right when you wake up, that foggy brain right there. That's usually when you hear your name being called, or you hear people talking in another room, or you hear some ding dong chimes or something like that. So that happens a lot.
I think there was a lot of this going on today with me knowing that you were going to be on. And I think I was supposed to, I think I was supposed to be prepped for this, but there's no way I was going to be prepped for you. But and that's a good thing. Don't think it's a bad thing. But the reason I say that is because I caught so much movement today out of the corner of my eye, or I caught so many just things that I wasn't sure why, but I'd turn. I'm like, okay, I saw that. And I think it was kind of, and this is the most that's ever happened to me in one day. It happens a lot at work because I work at a place where they used to make the old B-27 aircraft during World War II. It used to be a factory for it. Now it's where I work. So there's a lot of death in there where people died during the assembly lines and everything else. So I'm used to that. But today was a lot more just right out of the corner of my eye type of movement, and I was like, okay, what are you trying to prep me for? And I was like, this has to have something to do with you coming on, because it's never happened this much to me ever. So I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking out for or what I'm supposed to be looking for. But
I'm a weird supercharger sometimes for people. And I know that when I do live audience readings, people that have abilities, it's almost just like I turn up their volume. So I'm like a weird generator. And even if people, for instance, read my book, because I wrote another book, it's called Memos to Heaven. I had so many people that were like, when I read your book, something happened. I'm like, oh shit, you went through a spiritual awakening, didn't you? And so then we talk about it. But I didn't realize that even in print, people can feel that energy. Absolutely. I didn't realize it would even be in print. So, but I'm a weird generator for a lot of people, and I make people nervous, and it's not nerves. Basically, I vibrate at a fairly high energy level, and I'm forcing you to vibrate at my energy level. And if you're not used to that energy, it feels like anxiety.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of people that will come up to me and tell me I'm very intimidating, and I'm like, I'm not intimidating. You're
You're not.
weak. Let's
Yeah.
just be real.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
I,
it's because of the energy exchange.
that is, and because I've been told the same thing. They're like, man, you run at a very high vibration. And I'm like, that's weird because I don't know that. That's just how I am.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I have, and it's funny, the similarities, because there are so many times people go, man, you're intimidating. And I'm like, I'm really not. I'm really just a really big furry teddy bear.
I know.
It's just a really cool beard. That's all it is. That's all it is. And it's funny because earlier we talked about, I'm back a ways on messages. I have so many messages to catch up on. But when you were talking about the glow and you were talking about, oh, my spirit guy's going to come in too. And then we have people saying, oh, and you have something pacing behind you. And Melody's saying, oh, now that you mention it, I know it's the person behind you. So yes.
Yep. They'll show up. And I think they do it. And I've asked them to too, because if it helps somebody that sees them to know that they have spirit guides too, do it. Like I use me as a conduit. If that's going to help the next person in line or somebody that might need it, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that because it's not harm. I'm not harming anybody.
Right.
So, but again, if the clairvoyant people are going to see it. So absolutely.
Sorry. William's saying that he always sees things with the spiritual power. Sometimes, unfortunately, things that humans will never see. Yeah. I think I'm starting to catch on to that.
Yep.
William has told me there's a lot about that's happening with me as well. So that's kind of interesting that you mentioned the same thing earlier tonight. So it's just more confirmation that I'm not done yet.
No, we just got you started, honey.
I know.
Oh, kitty. We'll get you there. It's all good.
So I have a handful of messages, but I'm trying to see. I'm going to go to Jill. Like I said, I have tons of them, but Jill is asking, she'd like to know more about your life coaching. And I wanted to talk about that anyway. So this is a perfect place to jump into that. And I'll see what else is down the road, but let's talk about your life coaching.
And so what I do with the life coaching is I use that along with the reading, because if I think that we have a crossroads coming, I'm going to say, hey, listen, we got a crossroads coming. Are you going to go left or are you going to go right? Because here's what's going to happen. And a lot of times I'm going to give them advice on how to navigate through a lesson. We all have lessons here. That's why we're here. So you want perfect, you die, you go back home. There you go. That's perfect. You chose to be here in this shithole with the rest of us. So there you go. So we're all learn different lessons at different times. And for the most part, we all have an Achilles heel that we just can't freaking get right. So mine's my love life, clearly. So other people, it might be family, it might be money, it might be career, it might be job, might be themselves. There's a lot of different factors here. So if we know that this is a lesson coming, then I'm going to help navigate through that. But I'm also a person that I don't sugarcoat a turd. I'm just going to say it. So if you're for instance not working on your daddy issue and you're bipolar and you're not wanting to do your medication, and then you're coming to me going, well, why can't I find a boyfriend? I'm like, you can't. Are you kidding? So I'm like, no, we have to work on your dad abandonment issue so we can finally fix the emotional issue that you got going on. And we do that by learning how to forgive him. And that's not an easy topic sometimes to talk about. And a lot of people don't want to go there. But in order for somebody to truly heal, you got to really pull out the skeleton of the closet and be like, here, you got to deal with this. I mean, it's an elephant in the room and I'm looking at the elephant. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, we only have a half hour. We're not going to talk about that. No, we are. Yeah. We are. And I think I teach my students this too, that you are kind of more of a liaison, if you want to think about it that way, but you might be able to do that to somebody, but then you got to be able to build them back up. So let's talk about those goals, especially. So for instance, somebody's depressed. Let's talk about goals, ambitions, and dreams. And they're going to go, but I don't have any. I'm like, well, we need to get some. So different things like that. So I do those along with those individual readings. Anymore though, like I said, I'm doing more videos, more Q&As too, to be able to help people with that and maybe have them look at things from a different perspective. Right. And that's really what I do is I have people look at it from a bigger perspective and not just seeing things through their eyes. Yeah. And that really helps. Yeah, it does. And
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when you guys started talking about Mercury retrograde. I stepped out of myself, my selfishness of myself, and I'm like, how is this affecting the others? What's going on with the others?
Yep.
How can I help the others? Type of thing, which is really weird because I've never made that comment before out loud until just now. I did it in my head earlier today when I started noticing everything at work. But yeah, so that was weird that was a comment that was made in my head was now how can I help the others?
Yeah.
So that was new. Going back to a crystal comment, Nikki is asking, since we were talking about crystals, do you recommend a certain crystal a person should carry without being called to it? Or does it really all depend on each individual person?
You know, I did a video on YouTube for the top 10 crystals that I think everybody should have. But right now, I mean, black tourmaline would probably be number one. And because black tourmaline, even when you're doing anything paranormal, nothing can attach to you if you have a piece of black tourmaline. So that's one of those where, you know, if you're going into, you know, something creepy like that, not a bad idea to have some black tourmaline. So that way you don't have what I call a ghost hangover the next day. So if you go into some place that you know that's haunted and maybe you're investigating it, or you're just curious and want to check it out, or you work with a bunch of negative energy vampires, you know, the Karens. But what black tourmaline does is twofold. One, it grounds you down. So if you're in la la land, you can get out of space a little bit. And then number two, it does protect you from some pretty negative stuff. So that way you're not going to have that big of a ghost hangover the next day. So, and that ghost hangover, you're exhausted. So.
I don't know what it is, but when we went on investigations, I was always the energy. I never tired. Well, once I tired, but for the most part, I never tired. We would use the golden healers to get everyone kind of back on track, and then they'd hand me the golden healers to recharge the golden healers, so the next time they went out, they have golden healers to use. I wasn't tired. And they'd come to me, and I told you about the whole hugging thing, and I'd grab a hold of them, and I'd recharge them, and I'd just let them go, and they're like, okay, we can go now. But for some reason, I didn't use the crystals to do the stuff, and Rosie's kind of doing the same thought I was too. For some reason, I'm just not drawn to tourmaline.
Yeah. That's on my, and most guys like black onyx instead.
For me, it's actually the obsidian.
The obsidians. That's great too.
I'm drawn to the obsidian. And it's funny because we went to Yellowstone, and I actually found this huge chunk of black obsidian just up in an area of one of the forests.
You know, I just realized that Nordic, they do it's volcanic glass, so it makes perfect sense why you'd like obsidian.
I guess it would. I guess I didn't do that either.
So. Duh, makes sense, of course.
I didn't think about that either. And the Nordic side of me, I'm also still learning about. I mean, all of it I'm just kind of learning about. I've always known I've just been a normal person, regular person, set here to protect people and everything else, because that's what I did in my job. You know, I did bad things to bad people and protected those that needed protecting, and now it kind of makes sense that I'm now doing it in this form too. So, and it's funny because the only thing I wear, which is funny, I don't have it on right now, but the only thing I ever wear on me purposefully is a copper bracelet, and it's all Norse, and it's the Norse tree of life, and it's the only thing I wear on me purposefully is that. Because I know that I feel that the copper helps enhance me and what I put out and what I help others with.
To me, I always think copper puts all your meridian lines together, not necessarily your chakras, but more meridian lines. That's what I see. But like I said, it's harder for guys to get their meridian lines attached, easier for women. Women hold their chakras for the throat, their third eye, their crown. It's easier for women to do it. Whereas men usually are more grounding. So their root, solar plexus, and sacral chakras are usually open pretty well. And then we meet at the heart. So that's why, you have a soulmate that equals you out. Well, you don't need a soulmate to equal you out. You could be equal yourself. But that's how they match up together like that. So.
Nice. And Melody's saying she wears a silver tree of life. And so I don't know. I have no idea why I was drawn to the bracelet. It was one well, you know how it happens. So you're in a store where people are doing this stuff all the time. In fact, it was funny. I was in your store. I want to tell the story if you're okay with it. I was in your store, and it was very early on in me discovering that I had abilities. And we were walking around your store, and there was a lady who was with her daughter, and they were looking for, her daughter was trying to find a crystal, and she kept getting pulled towards these certain crystals. But there was something about the lady where something just seemed to be off. She just didn't seem like something was okay. And I kept getting drawn to her. I can almost feel her pain. And it was very new to me because I'm not used to doing that. It was very early on in the stages. Well, everything for me is still early on, but I was early on in the stages. And I was very drawn to her. And I wanted to talk to her. And I told Nikki I felt bad because I never actually did. But I have stopped doing that now. I didn't like the fact that I did not go talk to her when I felt like I really should have. And I think I was just more intimidated about myself than I was actually going to help. But then I took that whole thought process of what I used to do in my past life of my military side of the house and turned it onto this side and said, well, I was never shy then. Why am I shy now? And I was always helping others then. So why aren't I helping others now in my newfound world? So I stopped doing that. Now it's kind of like if I see someone that's there, I just walk up to them and I start talking to them. And it's not like I'm a shy, quiet person as it is. So it's not like it's out of the ordinary. But I have to be very cautious and wary of how I do that because this seems to scare people. I'm not what you would call small and petite. So I guess anytime you see someone who normally has a mohawk, but it's all shaved off now, but normally has a mohawk and a huge beard and a 52-inch chest coming towards you, they kind of go, he's going to break me in half. And I'm like, no, really, I'm not. So for a good thing. And Nikki, I kind of turned off the side here, but we're back to joy now, or stuff. Amy's saying she talks to what calls to her. And of course, Nikki does I know she does this. I wear what matches my outfits. Or I wear an outfit of jewelry I'm drawn to her that day. So,
but here's the deal. Whatever color you are drawn to is exactly the chakra that you need a boost on. So if you are wearing yellow that day, well, your solar plexus is off and the color is going to help to amplify your solar plexus to balance it out. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you get your crystals to match, it doesn't matter. There's a reason. There's always a reason. Nothing in this world is a coincidence. Everything is synchronistic. And I really, truly see that. So that's what I'm like, everything really is synchronistic in this world. Absolutely.
Outstanding. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you used to do paranormal investigations. How long did you do it for?
Maybe 7 years.
Was there anything you just came across and you were like, nope, no.
No, because I knew I couldn't be harmed. Even though I got crap thrown at me. But I knew I couldn't be harmed. I probably got my curiosity, into places where I probably shouldn't have, but there's also other places that my guides are like, you're not going there. Yeah. And like the Velisca house. Yeah. They're like, you're not going there. I'm like, well, but they're like, there ain't no well buts. You're not going. I'm like, yeah. Well, it's kind of like your parents telling you can't go play at the playground. I'm like, well, why not? All the big kids are going. Like, right. I want to go, but no, there's certain places where my guides have really kind of held me back. There's other places that I've learned that I can't stay in haunted hotels. I mean, I don't get any sleep. So we stayed at the Bullock Hotel in Deadwood. No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I got no sleep.
Yeah, we had an instance at one place. I don't remember the name of it, but there's one place we were supposed to go to, and I had a dream about 2 to 3 months before that, and Nikki and I did not go on that investigation. I was like, no, there's something there and it wasn't because it was me, it's because it was going to try to harm her. Right. And I was like, no, we can't go to this because I can protect you, but why do we put ourselves in that situation in the first place?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, we're not doing this one.
Yep.
And so we did not go on that one. And we went to one that was kind of odd. It was we walked in, it was a home. It wasn't like a public place, but it was a home. But there was a painting, and I won't go into it too much, but there was a painting that I saw the swirl happen on, and I watched the movement happen on, and it turned out there was a portal. And it was interesting because when I went towards the portal, I'm stupid enough, and I put my hand right on it, and I'm like, what are you going to do? And it pushed me away. Like, it felt like when two magnets will
repel each other.
It would not let my hand get close to it. But when our other medium went up to it, it tried to pull her in. So we had to grab her and say, hey, you need to step away from this. So I think it didn't like the fact that I don't think it liked my energy and my, holy crap, this is what this guy can do to me. And it said, but I can get to her.
Yeah.
Because later on it did get to her, and I was the one who had to pull her out.
Yep.
When she got jumped. So it was interesting to have that happen.
Yeah.
Because I tell people I'm not afraid to share the information about what my protection is. Everyone creates a bubble, or everyone does this, or everyone does that. I do not. Mm-hmm. I wear mine like a superhero outfit. It is skin tight. It is like it basically looks like dragon scale. It is gold. It is impenetrable. And the reason why it is because I want that spirit, that whatever it wants to be, to get all the way up to me, because I want to know what it wants to think, but I know it can't hurt me. Mm-hmm. So I let it get to as close as me. It can even lay its hand on me, but it can't get through that penetrating armor. So I'm not worried about it. So that's how.
So that's funny because I do a ball, but I do like a disc, like gold disco ball. That's what I do. But with the way that I operate, if I touch you, I have you red instantly. And I'm very, I have to be very careful with the people that I touch, or, a lot of times they'll be like, hey, nice to meet you before COVID, and put your hand out. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to touch you. Right. So, because when I do, I'm automatically linking up with not only you, but everybody else around you is like, hey, so anyway, now that we can, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Right. So, so I have to be really careful with that. But I mean, usually on investigations like that, I didn't really have too much problem. I knew for the most part what was going on, and I'm like, ooh, something's going to happen. And then they're like, ooh, yay. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah. So, yeah.
So there are some people that are asking some color questions. Like Rosie is saying, yeah, my favorite color is blue. Should I work on that?
So that's your throat chakra. So I'd be curious to know if you have any thyroid issues, or even hormonal issues, because sometimes the thyroid will affect the hormones. But 9 times out of 10, if people have thyroid issues, it's because they don't speak their truth. And it's not so much about giving their opinion. It really is saying no. No, I don't want to do that. But my empaths are all like, well, I'll do it. And then they help them out. And at the end of the day, they get really upset because, well, nobody helped them out, or they never got a thank you. And I'm like, well, you got to learn how to say no to those people. But that's really hard for an empath to do that.
And there's two parts to that. Either you can help them, but don't help them expecting them to do the same for you in return.
That's exactly it. That's what I tell people.
Because that's what you do, but do not expect everyone to be just like you.
I learned a long time ago not to have expectation or hope with anything. I don't, because it's a dream. It's a crush. It's a dream crush. That's what it is. And so I learned a long time ago, I know what my goals, ambitions, and dreams are, but I don't have any hope on how I'm going to get there, because life throws curveballs. You got to learn how to just roll with that.
Yep. So. And it is. I'm an empath and I have a hard time saying no. So, yep. And Amy's the same way. She's saying guilty.
Guilty. Yeah.
Lori, so Laura, just know I have your question marked. I'm going to come back to you, I promise. But Lori is asking, I'd be curious what it means to be drawn to black. I wear black most days. And I actually have a comment about this too, but I want you to go first.
Well, most of the time, high empaths wear black all the time. And it's twofold. One, it's going to help ground you. But number two, the problem with black is it absorbs all colors. White reflects. So as a result, that's why everybody tells you all of their drama and all of their stuff wearing black. And what happens is that clothing actually helps to keep the energy on you. So black is yeah, it might be slimming, but my empaths are drawn to that often. And it's a drain.
Yeah.
It'll drain you faster than any other color, but
Yeah.
it is grounding. It helps to open up the root chakras, so it deals with your fear. So a lot of times people with high anxiety and that are high anxiety empaths are drawn to black.
Yeah. And that's interesting because whenever someone tells you close your eyes and try to draw the light in and everything else, I warn people, do not expect me to see a bright color. When I close my eyes, it literally is black, and it has like a red, what you would expect to see like an electrical fence look like. It's the crisscross of the fence, and it's red, and it almost looks like it's a barrier fence, and it's all black behind it. And that's whenever I close my eyes, that's my first image of all my colors I see are red. There's a red fence with a black behind it. So I'm like, yep. I'm like, I know. I'm not a sunshine and rainbows, yellow, white, blue type of person. As far as the colors go when I close
Yep.
my eyes. So,
Yep. And a lot of people, like, it doesn't matter really what color they see, because remember, your third eye chakra has, rods and cones in it, just like your eyeballs do. So
Yep.
everybody's going to see different colors.
Yeah.
But usually, even it starts out look like what you were saying, like lines or like almost static electricity. After a while, it'll start turning more lava lampy looking.
Okay.
So you'll start to see the lava lampy thing, and then you'll start to see the all-seeing eye, and then the triangles, and then after that you'll start to see what looks like faces and people walk in and like all kinds of weird shit.
Well, so it's weird you mentioned that though, and because when I sleep at night, I normally, and this is going to tie right into Laura's comment, is that I have a tendency to astral travel. Even though I've never trained myself to astral travel, I do it all the time. I know I do it all the time.
Most of us do, yeah.
But that's when I go to sleep at night. In the morning, if I wake up and I go back to sleep, I have the colors. I have the swirls that are all over, and they're normally darker colors. Some lighter colors will come in, like the golds. And I've been told gold is big for me, and green is really big for me. But it's a lot of the darker colors, and they come in as swirls. I lose my astral travel. I lose my remote viewing, which I also do when I go to sleep, right before I go to bed. And my morning stuff is always just the colors and the swirls of colors, which is really interesting because that pattern always repeats itself. I can never get them to switch. I can never get them to repeat. Like, my remote viewing does not happen in the morning. It only happens at night. My astral travel only happens at night. My colors only happen in the morning. So it's really weird that happens in that pattern. So it's kind of odd, but that leads us to, and I told you I get a ton of comments, but this takes us back to what Laura was asking. I've been experiencing astral travel. Can you comment on that?
Most of us enlightened ones astral travel every single night, whether you remember it or not. So what I've been telling people is that if you know that you astral travel, make sure to ask a question before you go to bed. You'll be amazed at waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with an answer. If not, the answer was going to come in a dream. And if it doesn't do that, you will get an answer within 48 hours. You'll hear two people talking about it. You might see it on Facebook. You'll get an answer, but it's not going to come if you request it a certain way. You got to let them do their job. So all you do is ask the question, you will get an answer. Almost always ask with in a dream state, like I said, at 3:30, 3:11, 3:33, whenever you wake up. And then a lot of times if you don't get it then, you may get it upon waking, right before waking up, or within 48 hours somewhere.
Yeah. And it's funny now because I don't ask questions of kind of like personal type things. Now when I astral travel, I'm like, all right, I've been here. Now I want to go somewhere else cool. So I'm asking them to take me to places that I can remember. And I wake up going, all right, so that was not even in this realm of galaxy. Yeah. I mean, it was not even close.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I ask all the weird questions like, if everybody comes in with a theme or a lesson, then why would somebody choose to, for instance, come in transgendered? Why would they do that? Right. And it's because they were a male in a previous life, and all of a sudden they come in as a female in this life, and they can't figure out why they got girl bits. So I'm like, well, that makes sense. Okay. So those are the weird questions that I ask before bed. Rarely, again, much like you, I don't really ask personal questions because I'm okay with life. Like life is going to happen. So I don't really worry about the future. I'm not stuck in the past. I just live moment to moment and I roll with it.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that's a lot of times I ask the weird questions.
I know. Where do you want to take me to tonight? Let's go somewhere cool. So,
let's go.
And it's funny because I'm still getting a lot of color things, which is funny because Amy is like, my colors are black and purple. And then further down, Jamie says, Amy, this is funny because I'm wearing black and purple right now too. And these two I had on my show together. Holy crap, two peas in a pod. So it's funny that they're tying together even in their colors when they're not even together. But yes, they were two that I wanted to have on a show specifically together, and they came on a show that I did a while ago to where we had a handful of people on all at once, and those two were hilarious.
Yeah, I'm wearing purple too.
Yeah,
I'm like it just it's all about the crown chakra. Like I said, we kind of got thrown off this weekend a little bit. That's why we were all kind of discombobulated, dysfunctional. Like it just was not a good weekend for most people.
Yeah.
Energetically speaking. So now we got through the eye of the needle here a little bit. So it's going to slowly start getting better. So we'll get there though.
Yeah. So Stuart says what he sees are oblong suns. Nikki is saying that she sees the lava lamp thing that you're talking about.
Yeah. That's cool.
And William is saying that his black is his color and his spiritual medicine pushes all the attracted energy back at people. Astral traveling is great.
Then he's able to transmute that energy then. That's great.
Yes.
So there's certain people that can transmute energy lickety split. I can't do that. I wish I could. I don't have that necessarily ability. It takes me a little bit to transmute stuff, but there are certain people that can like transmute energy so easy. I'm like, can you show me how to do that? But my guys are like, you don't need to learn that. I'm like,
yeah. And that's one of those things I'm like, do I know how to do that? I don't know, maybe. So along with everything else I do, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe. It's worth a shot. I follow that curiosity. Why not give it a shot?
Yeah. Nikki is asking, speaking of dreams, what can a person do to help remember their dreams? She's already heard about the, keep a journal, write it down type of thing.
And you're going to roll your eyes, but this is so simple. Ask God, source, energy, whatever you want to call it. Yep. Just ask to remember your dreams right before you go to sleep. You will. You will. But you got to remember, a lot of times, if it's not meant for you to know, you won't remember. There's a lot of times, please understand, my guides, a lot of times are like, you don't need to know that. I'm like, well, why not? Or they'll say it's irrelevant. I'm like, it's relevant because I'm asking.
Right.
So, but I get no or that's irrelevant a lot. And so don't get too discouraged with that. And looking back over the last, 15 years of me doing this, I see now why they have told me at certain points it's irrelevant. Right. So I see that they protected me, even though my ego didn't think so, but fine.
Whatever. Fine. Be that way. Be right again. I don't care.
I know. Well, and it's hard because I'm an indigo and so are you. And we don't like to be told what to do. So when they're like, it's irrelevant, I'm like, but I'm asking, therefore it's relevant. So, but I don't like I said, I'm not one to be told what to do. And my guides are just pretty black and white and they know it irritates me. And they're like, we're going to keep saying it this way until it doesn't irritate you anymore. I'm like, it's been 15 years. It still irritates me. Okay. Can you please say a different way?
So Amy says that she has people that said she has visited them and asked her about it, but she has never known to do it.
Sometimes, Amy, your face might show up as a teacher or a guide. I know that a lot of people tell me that I show up in their dreams and I'm like, no, I was thinking about this over here. I didn't, but my face will show up as advice or as a guide or as a helper of some sort. So like I said, if you show up in somebody's dreams, yes, it could be you. You two could be astral traveling together. That's quite possible. Mm-hmm. The other time, like I said, it could be that your face is getting filled in as a teacher, a leader, a healer of some sort, a helper.
That makes sense, Amy. That makes sense for you. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Rosie is saying this, and Laura's saying happens to her too. I get a song in my head from a movie while at work, and when I come home, the movie is on or it will be. Yes.
Yep. That's
Yes.
psychic abilities 101. You
Yeah.
betcha.
That's so let me ask you this. Interesting enough. Speaking of that, I have been told that I can kind of glimpse a future, and if I practice it enough, I may actually be able to alter or modify it a little bit if I actually focus on it and practice it, which I am again lazy and haven't done. Because I will see things or I will say something that is totally absolutely random that that person on the TV or whatever happens would never ever say in a million years, and all of a sudden it happens or they say it or whatever else, and someone's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I really have no clue.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they're like, someone's like, and then but another person has told me this is something you need to focus on and work on, because at some point I have been told that I am going to be able to glimpse further into futures, and like I said, I should be able to alter at least a little piece of it or modify it to my benefit in one way, shape, or form, or someone else's benefit one way, shape, or form to help them.
Yeah.
That's interesting since I have never.
Yeah, because everybody has free will. So,
Yeah.
like I said, if I'm going to predict that you're going to go right because of your past, and
Right.
usually your past is a pretty good predictor of your future. So,
Right.
if I think that you're going to go right, but instead your free will, you chose to go left, well, then everything I said from that point forward is now null and void.
Correct.
So.
Yeah.
That's the one crappy part about being a psychic is they're like, well, you were wrong. I'm like, yeah, because you went left and I thought you were going to go right.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and that does happen once in a while. But I can tell you, there was one time I was at the garden center and my boss walked in and I'm like, we all live in a yellow submarine. And he looked at me and he was freaked out. And he goes, why are you in my head? Don't do that. And that's when my abilities were coming out. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like he legit, it shook him. And he was like, don't do that. I'm like, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Like, sorry. So it freaked him out a little bit. And I was like, oh crap, that's cool.
You just
it's cool for me, but not for him.
And remember that too.
Yeah.
So Laura is saying when she wakes up, she's totally drained and can't move.
Ooh, you are astral traveling too long. So what happens is if you're out and about and you're always connected to your body with like a silver etherical cord. So when your soul leaves the body, you're out freely farting around. If you don't get back in time, that's exactly what it feels like. Or you have a paralyzing dream. That is your soul trying to jam its way back into the body. And so that's when you wake up and you're drained and you're kind of weirdly kind of shaky a little bit. Oh. Yeah, it's because you barely got your ass back in time. So that's what's happening, is that you're having a weird physical response. And then the rest of your day, you're like weirdly tired. And you're like, I shouldn't be this tired. I got plenty of sleep. But that's why when I go into a meditative state now, I don't go over 20, 25 minutes, because I will go into it. I can get to a point where I stop breathing and then my soul leaves the body. But then it's all fine and dandy. But when you get back in your body, your whole day's freaking shot. Like you're discombobulated. You can't talk. I stutter and I'm exhausted. So I'm like, yeah, it's fun and dandy and all, but not for the after effects. I got shit to do. So I don't like to do that anymore.
Well, so Rosie does it because she says the only way she can afford her vacation is after traveling. So
Attaway. That's great.
So I got a couple of questions here. Tracy is asking aura reading and aura photography. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Awakenings, we have, and her name's Shannon. She's the one that runs that aura photography machine. But what I love about this machine is you get to see your chakras in real time. So not only each individual chakra, you'll see the I guess the power of your chakra. So up to a scale of 1 to 10, you get to see where your chakras are at in real time, along with your auric field. So, but you remember, your auric field is a lot like, well, it's like a mood ring. It changes. So, but I want to see where those chakras are at with a certain individual, so we can work on the emotion of why that's blocked. And yes, crystals absolutely help with that. You betcha. But to me, every chakra is blocked by an emotion, and it's usually a subconscious one that you're not quite aware of. So, you know, it kind of depends on which chakra, but I like that. The weird thing about that one is I didn't know that I could manipulate my chakras. So if I want to shut down all my chakras and just turn one on, I can do that and it shows up. That's what made Shannon and I buy the machine, because we were at an expo one time and it was bored. Nobody was there. And we're like, I'm going to go screw around in this machine over here. So I paid him. And then I said, here, let me have it go all bright yellow. And it went bright yellow. And the guy was like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, you just imagine it, don't you? And he goes, that's it. I'm like, well, yeah, why not? And I'm like, here, I'll go purple. So then I went all purple. And so by that point, I didn't, I was just screwing around a little bit. I turned around. Of course, there's a whole group around me. They're like, what are you doing? So I was teaching them how to manipulate their chakras.
Yeah.
But, it's like I said, you just imagine it. But that's why I tell people your imagination is your intuition. It's the same thing. It really is. It feels like I get paid to use my imagination all day. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really does.
So I have to tell you right now, because your energy is radiating again. And to me, what I see, I don't know what other people see, but to me, it's standing out enough to me that it looks like you are in front of a green screen. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like you're the 3D and everything behind you is the 2D.
Yeah.
And that's what I am seeing personally on my side right now. So I think it's kind of cool. Erica is asking, can star seeds also be earth angels?
That's a hard one. So because everybody defines earth angels different. So for me personally, angels are not people. So they're on a different dimensional plane. So we'd love to be angels. We'd love to work our way up there. But we're only going into 5D and they're like 7D. So we got a little bit to go. So, earth angels are just wonderful people in general. Those are for me, the earth angels are the people that you want around you when you're dying. That's hospice stuff, But I think a lot of us are light workers. A lot of us are star seeds. I think that whichever star you're related to, it's irrelevant because we're all on the same team. So it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, I mean, there's good star seeds and bad ones, but, for the most part, we're on the same, a playing field, so to speak. But we're all kind of now starting to come together as a unit, and that's really what we need to do. Is that us enlightened ones need to start coming together, so we can raise the vibration of the planet, and then also come together as a collective consciousness to really knock some shit out. So that's really what we need to start doing, instead of. But there is some ego in there, but usually the enlightened ego gets kind of burned out after you get humble quick. So I'm not too worried about that, but we all have to go through that little bit of an egoic spiritual phase. I know I did. So, But
so Stuart reaches back towards you talking about your guides and saying that's not important, blah, blah, blah. And he says, it sounds like my brothers do it because I said so.
Yeah. I know. And it's frustrating. I'm like, I don't want to. And I think that's why it took me a little while to, really go through my spiritual journey, because I was stubborn. They kept telling me what to do. I'm like, no.
Kelly, I don't know if this is affecting anyone else, but she's saying their audio keeps slowing down and speeding up on her.
I know. And unfortunately, like I said, electronics and I aren't friends. I even have shungite in my pocket thinking maybe that might help, but
yeah. I know I have some around me somewhere. I have so many crystals around me. We recently moved, and when I say recently, probably within the last month or so. So I have crystals all over the place, and I think I have a piece of shungite over here in one of the bowls I have, or whatever else. So.
Yep.
I don't remember what this is for, Rosie. I'm sorry, I don't remember what this is tied to. But she's asking, is that clairvoyant? So I don't quite remember.
Yeah, probably with the lava lampy looking thing.
Oh, okay.
So that is clairvoyance. Yeah, clairvoyance is the ability to see spirit, but you don't necessarily see them dead on with your eyeballs. It's kind of like what Tom was saying. You're going to see them first off the corner of your eye. And what I tell people is try not to look at them right away. Try to stare at the ground instead and ask them to come forward, and they will. But a lot of times people are like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, but just because spirit shows up maybe gray, dark, or gritty doesn't mean that it's bad, evil, or demonic. It's probably your grandpa saying hi.
Yeah.
So, that's what clairvoyance is you don't really see it with your eyeballs. You see it as more pictures or images in your head.
And it's funny because a lot of mine that I see, they know, it's almost like they know who I am and what my actual personality is like. Because they don't pop up and hide from me. They pop up like they're playing peekaboo. Like
Yeah, they do that.
like,
Yeah, I know.
So I know you can see me. Here I am.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the other thing. That's a great point, because I don't think people realize that your spirit guides are freaking funny. Like, they bring a lot of joy, a lot of laughter, to different situations, and they're kind of smart assy. So I don't, they're not all serious all the time and trying to, like, they're not like that. They joke around too.
Yeah.
So
I want to say hello to, I told you she'd be coming on. I call it every time. There's Mrs. Zhang visiting us from Indonesia. Hi, Zhang. So she's saying hi to us. Zhang was recently on I don't know if it was a podcast or a live stream, but she is one that has abilities, but she's always been a little too reserved to want to bring them out. But I guess apparently recently she has shared with me that I have kind of helped her bring those out and be willing to talk about them and experience them and everything else. So she was actually on a podcast to talk about stuff recently. So I'm really happy to hear that. And I really want to hear more about her. So I'm really excited that I was able to do that just through the show. It was kind of cool because she's even shared that with me a couple of times. So I'm like, yay. So but I love her being on here. She always comes in with really good questions, and I just love seeing her on here all the time. So hi. Cryptid Huntress. This is actually Jessica Jones. I mentioned we had cryptids on. This is one. And I'm actually going to be on her show later on too. She says, hey, Tom, fun show tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're having a good time. We have Sue Ellen. I'm assuming that's how I say that. Sue Ellen from Aberdeen, South Dakota, saying hello. Nighthawk would like you to give me advice for increasing my vibration so I can feel supercharged. I don't think I need it.
like I said, all you have to do is just imagine it. That's it. It's like, it's easy for you. So I'm like, all you got to do is just kind of just imagine it, and that's good to go.
Yeah.
So I know, and it's frustrating because I know a lot of people have to like meditate first and do all the other stuff. And that's, I'm like, I don't want to discourage you but everybody has some sort of a talent. Everybody's got something.
Yeah.
So don't get so discouraged that you're like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff I can't do either. So, but I mean, my talent is to teach at this point. So other people's talent might, only be the psychic reader. Other people's talent might, just be like the hugger. So, but everybody has a talent. They really do. And, your job is to figure out what your purpose is here. And that's not clear. That is not like, oh, well, here it is. It's not like that. It really is a discovery. You have to learn a bunch of different things first before you can put that puzzle piece together.
Yeah. And it was mentioned to me before that it seems like I have been doing this for a very long time. That's why it hits me like as fast as it did and as readily as it did, because I don't need to take the time to open and close like a lot of people do. It's very automatic. And it seems to be with most of my abilities, they are just automatic. I have not had to practice them. I haven't had to do really a whole lot with them. They just show up and they just work. It's like someone put a battery in the toy and went, go. And that was basically it. So yeah, it's interesting how that has happened. And I'm seeing it in other people as well. As I watched, more people are like, oh, that was kind of cool. What was that? Jessica does say that she lives more in the astral than the 3D. She hates waking up in the mornings. Yep.
Same.
Melody's saying she loves the aura photography. She wishes she had a machine. Debbie is on here. Hello, Miss Debbie. I'm trying to bring her up again. My stuff wants to break her once in a while. Sorry, she's late. Hurricane is prepping. Oh yeah, hurricane prepping. I couldn't find the live stream. But I'm glad you made it out here, and I hope you're safe. I hope everything is going well for the hurricane prepping. That's kind of for everyone who's out there who's in that realm of having to worry about the real world shit right now, and not, just that's family first. I mean, that's really the big thing. Make sure you're safe. Make sure your loved ones are safe. This show will continue on. And we'll always be here anyways. And if not, guess what? It's recorded. You can always go back and watch it. So you're perfectly fine. I'm trying to see what's going on here. Yep, a lot of people saying, sending love and light. Hope everyone is safe out there. Again, I'm so far behind on the messages. I apologize. And so Nikki is saying, so what she sees with you is a glow, and when you were talking about chakras and moving your hands, it was like contrails from your hand movement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do, especially if you do the, if I rub my hands together, or especially if I do like the hair of the dragon thing and do that. So you will like see weird energy that way. So yeah, I forget, but because I was rubbing my hands earlier, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Because I have the tendency to fritz out electronics when I do that. So I have to be kind of careful.
And Stuart said it's actually because you're using acid. They're just called trails. So. And Debbie has stated that she is glad that you are here because she has been following you for a few years. You post the best spiritual memes. True.
I do.
I may have. I don't say I stole them. I say I pilfered them.
No, I encourage people to take them. I don't go ahead. I'm like, take it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Amy's saying that she gets to peekaboo a lot when we're talking about the out of the corner of your eye type stuff. There it is. Like I said, I'm hitting buttons and nothing wants to work, and I think it's you and me just kind of wanting to fight with each other.
I have a question, Tom. Have you tried to do that with Bigfoot? Have you tried to do the peekaboo thing with Bigfoot?
I have not.
Try it.
Really?
Yeah, they're very, very intelligent. And if you say, "Hey, let's play a game," I did that one time. I didn't think anything of it. I was just being a smart ass. I'm like, "Hey, let's play a game." And I'll never forget. I went across one tree and I went past another.
Yeah.
And he looked right at me, and I'm like, "Oh!" And then he went behind the tree, and then I went behind the tree. I'm like, wait, where'd he go? And then I never saw it again. I was like, oh. I'm like, wait, I just saw that.
So we have to ask Jessica over there if she's done that, because she does go out on the hunts with the group and everything else.
They love to play hide and seek. They love to game. And I heard that, and I was like, oh, let me try it. I'm like, whoa, there is one.
See, I'm so far back now because I'm getting comments. I'm finally catching up to comments. Is my main guide is hilarious. I think I got a sense of humor from him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. So as Yang says, starseed is a new term for me. Could you explain what is starseed?
Well, technically, that they're saying that we might be like certain people are maybe Palladian or like from the Orion or different things like that, Arcturians.
Yep.
So everybody is supposed to kind of maybe know what starseed they're in, but like I said, honestly, it doesn't really matter. We're all here collectively for the same reason. So I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out what I am. So that feels good.
I will tell you, you right there, young lady, plus you down here, young lady, and everyone else over there in the audience. Jamie Whitaker is on here, and she is the one who pointed me in the direction of who I should be using, who can tell you what your starseed paths are. I unfortunately do not have the link readily available to who it is. Nikki has just recently sent it to me, but Nikki is also finding out her own starseed path as well. Apparently, you can be more than one. You could have multiples, and so I'm looking forward to finding that out for myself. But Jamie Whitaker down there on the down over there in the comments, if you reach out to her, you can also contact her about that type of information as well. She'll be able to point you in the right direction. But for Zhang, really what it is like people that are from different galaxies, worlds, whatever you want to call it, but we're all from different locations, and it's just another life that we've had in the past or we will have again in the future. It's all it really is, in a nutshell. There's more to it. If you went out and you did a research for starseed, you'd be able to find them online. There's also a Jamie, help me out. There's also a Facebook link that we're part of, Starseeds, something that's on there as well that you can link to, and there's a lot of good explanation on there too, and people to talk to about it. So, okay. Sorry, all over the place again. I have, again, my squirrel moments are amazing. So, so Swellen is saying, this has got to be with the spirit guides. She says, I'm guessing because the situation is pretty serious, they don't find much levity. I think that's for her spirit guides, because she says hers are all pretty serious. So
and when you're going through a big situation, a lot of times they're a little bit more serious. Or if you have more drama in your life, Or if you have to make a decision, remember your spirit guides can't make your decision for you. That would affect your free will. Nothing in this world can affect your free will without your consent.
Right.
So therefore, even if you give them consent, they still won't do it. I've tried it. But ultimately, you have to make those decisions for yourself, and you'll get really discouraged and frustrated, and it's going to feel like you're not tapped in anymore if you have to make a big decision like that. So a lot of times mine will get very quiet, dead serious, or they won't talk to me at all if I have to make a big decision.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. And then, you make that decision and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, where the hell you been? Like, I've been trying to make this decision, not helping me out with no signs, no nothing. Where you been?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we've been busy. I'm like, busy.
You've been watching from the background laughing.
Yeah. Like, watch this shit. Watch what she was going to do. Here, let's throw this one in there for her. Why not? I'm like, no. They sit back and giggle.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rosie does say that everything happens for a reason. She's glad she's watching a show tonight. You're interesting. Thanks to both of you. Thank you very much, Rosie, for watching. I greatly appreciate it, as I always do. Sue Ellen is saying that my parents freaked out when I was little, so I turned things off fast. They were both gone, so I turned it back on. It freaks out my brother, but, well.
It freaked out my brother, too, but he eventually came around. It took a while, but that's all right.
And William had to take off. If you're still on here, brother, good night. Have a great night. I know you're doing a ceremony. He does all of his ceremonies at 3:33 a.m. So Perfect. That's what he plans. So, yeah, exactly. So that's why he's prepping for everything now.
Yep.
And see, more confirmation. Kelly is absolutely glowing. It's very cool. And she also says, I've been blowing light bulbs out all weekend.
And, as a woman, I will tell you, Sue Ellen, that you will notice that the day that you're ovulating and the day that you're menstruating, you will be extra EMF sensitive with the light bulbs, the street lights, all of that. I've noticed it, especially with girls going through puberty. I will get a lot of phone calls saying my house is haunted. My lights are always going off. I'm like, wait a second. You got some teenage girls? And they're like, yeah, why? I'm like, yeah, no. Preteen girls, when they're just about ready to start growing and they're like they're all hormonal. Good God. So, and they really do blow out lights and computers and all that stuff. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for everyone who can see the comments over on the side, Jamie Whitaker posted the shiftinto-purpose.com. That's the one where you can go to find out about the star seeds that you're attached to, what you've been in the past. And then Nikki also posted a link right here. It's a long one, but if you want to go over the comment section and grab it, copy and paste it for later on, there it is. That's also one that we have there. And then the Facebook site that I mentioned earlier for Zhang, if you want to know more, this goes for anybody who wants to know more. And there is a link out here on Facebook called Star Seeds Shift into Purpose. It's a private link, but if you click onto there and you answer their questions, it's a very awesome site to be part of. I'm glad that I was invited into it from Jamie, as a matter of fact. And it has helped me a lot, kind of understand what I'm been through or what I'm going to go through later on, whichever way I go. But that's one that you can link into on Facebook as well. So Kelly, you may also want to jump into this one to know more about the side of the house. So that's out there too. Amy says that her spirit guides roll their eyes a lot.
Mine do too.
And Debbie, wow, words are hard. Debbie is asking, besides automatic writing, what could you recommend to help one with channeling more?
Use any divination tool that you like. So pendulum, tarot cards, and any sort of, that's what they are. They're tools. Use them. Yeah. So, and maybe automatic writing isn't your thing. Maybe a pendulum's better. Maybe dowsing rods are better. Maybe, like I said, angel cards, or, and there's plenty of like I Ching. There's so many different ways and modalities to try to begin to not only communicate with your spirit guides, but just open yourself up.
Right.
So, and again, at any point in time, if it freaks you out, I mean, ask for some protection, but I think people fear what they do not understand. And so, do your research, really figure out, maybe what your abilities are or how to use a pendulum the right way, just different stuff like that. I have a ton of stuff on YouTube, those little videos like that on just little, how to do, how to use a pendulum, how to sage, how to do the basic stuff. So.
Yeah. And Amy's saying she uses oracle cards and dowsing rods. I actually bought myself a set of dowsing rods. I have put them together. I have, they seem to work relatively quickly. Like as soon as I put my hands on them,
They will.
And I kind of had some weird testing going on. I'm like, hey, do me a favor and point over at Nikki, and they both turned and went, okay, she's over there. And she's sitting right next to me, and I'm like, okay, now go back, and they, reset. So they reset, and so it's very interesting how fast they worked as soon as I put my hands on them, because I didn't do anything else. I said I put my hands on them, and they were ready to start talking.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I can actually use dowsing rods, which I hadn't done in the past. So I started.
To be real with you, I still use tarot cards in my readings. So I always tell my students, once you figure out your method of spirit communication, don't screw with the system. Stick with the system.
Right.
So because once they know that that we're communicating, don't screw with it. Just stick with it. So you can try other modalities, but you're going to get frustrated.
Right. Which is what I want to do, because the divining rods or the dowsing rods are the first ones I've ever used. But I am very drawn to pendulums for some reason. I don't know why. I have a handful of them. I've never used them for the purpose of pendulum. I've only used them because I like the crystal that was on it. And I have them around. In fact, I think the ones I have, I've all bought from your store. I want to play with other things. Hopefully the spirits won't be pissed at me doing that. But I'm just curious myself to start figuring out what I can use, because I have taken a hiatus recently, for a few months from investigating, but I want to get back into it.
And with you being Norse, I'd have you look into runes, because that's really where it's based at, and Wayne Recky knows all about that stuff. I don't know shit about runes.
Yeah, that's where I met him at, was when he was doing the rune readings out there with you guys. So he knows all about that stuff. Oh, Debbie says she was meaning voice channeling.
Voice channeling. Usually those are more like mantras and stuff. So for voice channeling, you're going to be like Om, and you're really going to open up that throat chakra and that pineal at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. Debbie does say that she has 52 decks and about 8 pendulums. So
I'll tell you, I have 3 pendulums, and I really don't use my pendulums anymore unless I feel like I need to use it. And the only time, the last couple times I've used it, honestly, was when I was helping the police department. So I really don't use those too much anymore, because I already know what the answer is. So
yeah. But
it was a great tool to start to open up that line of communication. It really was.
Yeah, and that's something I always mention, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's like see, now my head's going a little nuts right now. Anytime anyone asks me, what do you like to use on investigations, I always tell them nothing. I always like to use myself, because I believe that I am the most truest form of answer I can get. Everyone likes the pretty lights, and everyone likes the confirmation of all that stuff. But the other side of that coin is, because I am newish, I still have that bit of doubt on if I am correct. And the team I used to run with had a couple other mediums in it, so I can get confirmation. But now I don't. Now it's just me, so I'm relying on my own. So now I'm trying to think of, okay, do I need little bits and pieces to help? But my mind is telling me, no, dummy. Nope. Do it on your own, because you're doing it right. So,
that's right. That's right. I'm like, no. What people don't realize is that when the teachers, when the student's ready, the teacher's going to appear. But what they don't realize is that when the student is done learning, the teacher will disappear.
Right.
So I'm like, it's not necessary anymore. And it's kind of like, it's a little weird, because you don't have training wheels anymore.
Yeah.
Well, but you don't need them, even though you don't feel like you have all the answers yet. I'm like, nah, good enough. Let's go.
Well, and that's what's funny too, is that I never really started off with training wheels. I was basically said, hey, look, a deep end of a lake, sink or swim. So
that must be a Gen X thing, because the millennials don't do that.
Yeah,
so,
do not
us
do
Gen
that.
Xers, we're like, we're in. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I'm reading. So Amy is saying, I use my guides for extra energy for my dowsing rods because it drains her energy.
That's perfect. It's no different than I don't have spirit use my auric field. They're using yours.
Yeah.
Screw that. I'm not going to get drained. I'll let you get drained.
Yeah.
So,
and that's interesting because someone at one point called me an energy vampire, and I took offense to it. I said, there is no way, shape, or form I am an energy vampire. But they said, but you always have energy, and you always have energy to give. I said, you are correct, but I know where I pull my energy from. I pull my energy from nature. I pull mine because, and I think that's why I am so tired that I can see, talk, and hear elementals, because they know that I'm pulling energy from them, but I'm giving back to them in another form.
Right.
And so my belief has always been that I am not an energy vampire. I am not stealing to give. I am actually being given to give. And so that's my belief on that. So I took very much offense when someone called me an energy vampire. And I'm like, no, I'm built this way for a purpose, and it is to help, not to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, usually when somebody says that, that's a self-reflective statement anyway. So, but I'm the same as you. I've got a bachelor's degree in horticulture. There's a reason why I have that. Because it balances me out. I have to. So I'm the same way. It's just like we literally just, even though I'm working a lot, we just put our small little RV away. And we were out there for the last 2 days because we need a ground, and that's our best way of doing it. Yeah. So absolutely.
Well, and I noticed that I think lately it's a lot of, for me, it's especially recently since we just moved. Nikki and I literally just moved to a new home. Our backyard is a lake. We have a beach. So, that is, for me, I think I know that I am a Pisces. I'm born under a Pisces sign, but we do not believe I'm an actual Pisces because I do not match up with a lot of the things so it could be I don't know the sun, moon signs, everything else, all the other stuff that goes with it. I just know that I've always been told that I'm born under a Pisces sign, but but I'm definitely drawn to water, but I am very much drawn to wind, for some reason. And living on the lake is perfect for me because I kind of get both.
Well, and so the wind is always that the wind is associated with your heart chakra, and you have one of the biggest ones out there. And so as a result, it's going to help to kind of, instead of it being so far open, it actually helps to balance it out. So that makes perfect sense for you.
That's good.
So absolutely makes perfect sense. And so the water, babe, the water is associated with your sacral chakra. And so my guess is the reason why you really like the lake is probably related to your sacral chakra.
Okay.
That might be a little off. So I could tell you that that's kind of our goal here. My husband is a Pisces. So that's kind of our goal here. As soon as Stephen gets to, be a senior in high school, then we're looking at the lake too.
Yeah. We're so for those people who are local, we actually just moved out to Bay Hills, Buccaneer Bay, heading towards Plattsmouth. And it's a fantastic lake down here, and it's very quiet, and we live in a cul-de-sac and no lights at all. So at night you can go out and look at all the stars. No street lights, no nothing.
That's
so
great.
Here. So so Rosie does say that she has a few runes on her palms when she found them. So I wonder if she can see the shapes of the runes on her. I have not looked.
Well, and usually people that can see that, they're natural healers, such as Reiki or any sort of those healing modalities. Absolutely. That's it's just a gifted healer.
Nice. I did not know that. Debbie does say thank you. She appreciates it. She's been doing some chanting in the healing course she's taking, so she will keep it up.
Perfect.
So that rolls right along with what we're talking about. Amy says that she has been using paranormal equipment less and less, which is good. Because Amy is definitely her own source. I knew that from talking to her. It's pretty cool when I talk to Amy. Like I said, there's a couple of people over here that have been on my show too, and it's fantastic having them in the audience because then I can relate to what they're talking about from the audience side because I've had them on my show. But yes, and I pick up on people for some reason very, very quick. I don't know why that is, but I do. And Jamie is saying I'm not an energy vampire because you're just not. a high vibe tribe. And then
Yep.
Stuart is saying, I am not a energy vampire. I am an energy substation.
Legit. You're a generator. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and Amy is telling me, good idea to use environmentals. Yeah, I believe that's where I draw it from. I think that's why I can see, hear, and speak to them just like I am everybody else on the show. They are very much a part of my life and in my life, and I'm talking to them just like I'm talking to you. In fact, we have someone in my old team who has a fire elemental as one of her guardians or one of her, and she's like, well, I have, and I go, you have a fire elemental, and this is what it looks like, and this is where they're standing, and this is what they're doing. And she's like, how do you know? And I go, because I'm watching it. And she's like, I can't see my own elemental, my own guardian. I'm like, but I can. She's like, that's wrong.
Yep.
So
not fair.
Yeah, that's one of her guardians, but I was able to see it. She can't.
Oh, absolutely.
Rosie said, why did all of us freeze? We broke it.
Probably.
It's standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nikki says she's fire, but she also loves the water. That's true. Amy says she's drawn to wind and storms.
Yeah.
And Debbie's saying she is also fire sign drawn to the water. I'm assuming we have Rosie back now because she says thank you. So we must have become unfrozen. Jamie's lying. She says she's a balanced chart, totally balanced, and I know she's lying through that one.
I'm a Libra, so I'm a Libra, Scorpio, Libra. So yeah, I'm balanced.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you if I had to. Facebook user. See, I see him as Facebook user, but I know it's Joe over in Hawaii. He says, I don't seem to be drawn to anything in particular. They all appeal to him. But, that could also be.
That's okay. That means he's balanced. I mean, literally, he doesn't need earth, air, fire. Like, he's balanced. That's great.
I think that's really, and I really think that has to do with him, and because he's over in Hawaii, and he is very much an educator of everything that's happening over there. As far as spiritual lore and everything else and stuff like that. So he ties to actually all of it.
I was going to say, what a better place to be for all four elements. Hawaii, right. Hello. I mean, he's got lava. I mean, he's got it all. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's got it all.
And that's what I think, too, is that's it's because of where he is and
yeah,
who
absolutely.
he is and where he's grown up and everything else. So, and then Jamie says, yeah, he does live in the ocean. So,
yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. Has it been really?
Yes.
It has been.
It has been. I told you this was going to go by fast.
It does.
On my show. My audience is fantastic. And it's and the guests always just kind of seem to just flow right through it. And by the time I go, hey, by the way, we've been almost on for 2 hours. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But I still have comments coming in. So I see. She says I use all the elements for scrying. Now, that is something I have not tried. I have not tried scrying. It was a lot of it I haven't tried. But I haven't tried scrying, but someone told me that I would probably be very good at it.
Yeah, it improves clairvoyance. So, yeah, people that are naturally clairvoyant, it's easy for us to do. So, yeah, absolutely. And whether that is with a, black obsidian, which it's black obsidian, but it'd be a black obsidian plate, or even with a crystal ball. Right. Either one, it's to help give you a focal point. Right. And then you let your eyes kind of go cross-eyed. When you stare at something a while and your eyes kind of cross, you let your eyes cross like that. And then all of a sudden you'll get pictures or images in your head. They'll just start flooding in. Okay. So, and it won't take long. Yeah.
Nikki will notice that when I'm starting to pick up on something, because I kind of get that glaze, even when I'm listening, I'm still paying attention, I get that glaze. But when I really start picking up on something, I always cock my head to the left.
I do this weird thing, and you'll probably notice that I like lick my lips a lot. It's not, I'm not on I'm not a Coke binge or something. I'm not like that. But a lot of times when I'm picking up on spirit, I will do this thing with my mouth. I'll kind of do this, and then I'll turn my eyes to the side, and I don't notice it, but my girlfriends are like, all right, who's around? I'm like, what? And they're like,
And
you're doing that thing. You're doing
Nikki
the thing.
Yep. Nikki knows it too, because I don't pay attention to it, but I'll turn.
I don't either.
And then I'll do this with my hand. And she notices it, and I don't notice it that I'm doing this with my hand. She's like,
I'll do this with my fingers a lot, and I'll like put it like down so people don't see it, but I'm all, that's funny.
That is. Oh, that is too funny.
Yeah.
And so, and I am even getting offers for help, so that is fantastic. Debbie, I will definitely take you up on this. She'll help me with the scrying stuff, so that's good because, like I said, for me, it's something new that I want to try. And, but I'm that person that I have no fear of anything at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, ever. I'm not afraid of any type of animal, bug, death, weird thing happening. I just don't.
Same.
I'm just not. And I tell people it's because I'm too dumb to know any better. And I think a lot of it has to do with how I grew up, where I grew up, what I did for a living, and everything else. Audience who knows me, who's been with me before, they know I've been shot twice. I've been stabbed over 30 times. I'm the one who's still alive. So, I'm not really afraid of too much else out there. And I'm the one who kicks in the doors when we go on investigations, respectfully. But I'm the one who would go in and I'm like, oh, look, a door. And I'd open it up and everyone's like, no, don't. You don't know what's behind it. And I'm like, well, I do now. And they're like, you should be cautious. I'm like, why? Yeah. Someone needs to explain this to me. I don't get it. I just want to go check out and investigate. So, but
I always used to get yelled at for doing that, but then it's because they wanted to get their equipment in there right behind me, and I was too quick. And they're like, "You got to slow down." I'm like, "But why?"
Yeah, right. You're like, why would I do that? So, so Nikki confirming that what happens with me. She says, "I will also start to feel him. I can feel when he is getting messages." She does. It just happens. And all of a sudden I know when she's realizing it because she gets quiet. And then all of a sudden she's like, what are you feeling? Like she'll ask me because she knows.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you feeling? And it's interesting when we're around people who don't know what I do, or they've just learned and they're not really sure how to comprehend it. They're kind of like still skeptical.
Yeah.
But then something will happen and they're like, what?
Yeah.
So, in fact, she's talking about it tonight because I've been kicked up pretty much to a different level tonight. And she says, she actually feels me tonight, texting me as if I'm amped. And Rosie's asking, do our bodies change temperature when we receive messages?
Yes. I know a lot of times especially when I'm doing a live audience reading, you will always see my hair down because my ears will actually go purple. They actually go purple here. And then the top of my head, when my crown opens, it gets really hot. So I expel a lot of calories through my crown and my ears, like this whole section. So
is that what that does? I'm always wondering because when it
feels like you have lice in your hair and you're like, what the hell is my problem?
For me, it feels like a huge energy burst in my head. Mm-hmm. I used to get it in my chest when I first started. And a lady that was working with me when I first started, she helped me with a couple of things when I started because I had questions and I had no one else to turn to. She said, you need to learn to move that out of your chest because it could affect your heart. So move it somewhere else. So I moved it to my head. And for me, it almost feels like an energy is what it feels like in my head. Mm-hmm. But I found out how to remove, which is kind of interesting how I get rid of the energy. Some people are like, you are so weird. And I'm like, I know. But it literally, because I don't have any, so I think it's just my false sense of hope of having hair. It actually radiates out of me like it's hair strands. Yep. And then I have hands that come down and take them from me. And it's almost like they're removing them out of me, so it takes care of it all, and then I go back to normal, which is very That's a very weird picture in my head to be explaining to people.
Well, I think that's ironic because when I'm doing a guided meditation with, like, say, a group of people,
Mhm.
I tell them to imagine a string coming up through their head, going all the way up to heaven and then all the way back down. And then we open up the chakras as we go down. So, because that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to, I'm like, no, it's like a string out of your head.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's how I kind of take care of it. So
Yep.
I don't know. Debbie is saying that her ears and neck get really hot and gets tingles in her crown.
Yep. That's when you know you're tapped in and ready to go.
And Nikki is saying that she had that feeling in her head and hair the other day when she was getting her angelic tuning from Dana Ucamp, which you may know Dana.
Dana's awesome.
Yes.
She is, I mean, not only does she do the angelic tuning, but she is an amazing numerologist.
Yes. And I actually had her on her for numerology.
Yeah, she's good.
So, and it's funny because now that we started this conversation, so many people are bringing. So, Kimberly's saying, "Follow the weird."
Heck yeah.
And Lori is saying, "My scalp starts to feel like it's on fire, and I get anxious. I've been to so many doctors and no answers. This is possibly what is happening."
Yep.
Yes,
that's your crown chakra opening.
This is what's happening. And it's funny too that you say that because I have never thought of it as my crown chakra opening. I just know that something's going through my head.
The crown's open.
Makes a lot of sense. And Jamie is commenting about your string theory. String theory. Is that connecting the soul star with the silver string? So, yeah, I just turned that into a total nerd.
That was good. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, just walked right into that one. So, okay, well, we are now at 2 hours. I am going to go ahead and end our session for tonight. Thank you for coming on.
And you're welcome.
For the entire 2 hours. I am going to make you the offer if you would like to come back on again.
Oh, absolutely. This is great.
I will try. I only have a handful of people I'm bringing back on. You are going to be one of them, but I won't reach out to you. Well, I will reach out to you for myself if I'm selfish like that. But to come back on the show for another 6 to 8 months, we have all kinds of new stuff that will happen to both of us and will happen to the audience, and we'll all be able to share outstanding new whatever is happening, especially with us rolling through the holidays and the new year and everything else. So thank you again so much. If you don't mind, I'm going to put you backstage so I can talk to you in a second. But first, before we go, remember, folks, visit this place, awakeningstore.com. She has absolutely amazing stuff out there. I don't care what you're looking for. Home decor, crystals, sage, sprays, just, oh my goodness, jewelry, just cool everything. You have to go out there and take a look at it. It's a fantastic store. As she's stating, there are numerous locations now with more to come. So you can look online for stuff, but if you're in areas, which you'll be able to see on the site where she's located at, you can also go check out the stores as well. And I would really advise that because it's really cool to go into there and just get the vibe from the stores. The stores themselves breathe their own life into you when you walk in. It's not just a normal home goods, JCPenney type of store. When you walk in, you are walking into a new life of area that is helping you as soon as you walk in. And I can definitely attest to this because every time I walk in, it's almost like I'm reinvigorated. And then when I walk out, I'm exhausted because I've touched the plate with absolutely everything. So it's like my kid candy store type of thing. So yes. Also, if you want to talk to and reach out to or go check out her sites and see what she has coming up for events or anything else to see what she's involved in, please go out to www.psychickelly.com and her Facebook site right there, facebook.com/psychickelly-miller. You can find her at those two areas. You can reach out to her. She's going to have an email attached to those if you want to reach out and ask questions. I may be opening a whole Pandora's box for you for people who are about to send you messages and everything else. I apologize ahead of time, but that's your fault for coming on my show.
That's all right. That's good.
But again, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to click on comments really quick to see what everyone's saying. Okay, a bunch of good nights. So that's what we're looking at. Have a great night, everybody. I will be talking with you here in just a couple of minutes. Let me check on the show, and I'll reach back out to you. So everyone say hi to Kelly. Good night, Kelly.
Bye.
Okay, everyone, that's my show for tonight. Thank you all for being a part of the show. Thank you for all the new people that showed up. Hopefully, it was enjoyable for you and you had a good time. I know I had an awesome time with not only Kelli, but with everybody who was part of the audience. Thank you for participating. Thank you for watching. If you would like to continue to watch, please go up to that site right there, Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. Follow me. I am on Facebook. Actually, let me do this because I actually have all this written down so I don't have to remember it all. You can actually find me right here, facebook.com, Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. I am on twitch.tv, Stuff I Never Learned. If you go out to YouTube, instead of typing all those wonderful numbers and letters, if you just type in Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook, I will pop up. All these are out there. I would appreciate all the likes and shares. I would love to grow this community because I am one of those that believe that our community is not one that should be in competition with each other. I believe we should be supporting each other. And if anyone at all who is watching or that you want to share this with wants to advertise or wants to post on my site, you are more than welcome to. I do not care. I just ask that you do not ridicule. All you do is support. That is what the site is built for. It is to help new people learn about their abilities. So please be kind to them as well, because they will be asking questions. Excuse me. And it allows them a very good community to learn from and to ask questions from and to bounce ideas off of and everything else. And that's really what the whole idea behind this is I'm so tired of trying to go to communities where they say, no, because you're not really tied to who we already are, or we already do that. We don't want you to do that with us because we already have someone that does that or anything else. This is not a competition. The whole point of us being in part of this awakening is so everybody can join together and to become one big happy family so we can actually start doing the purpose that we're here for. We are only here for a short amount of time before we move on to the next location. So it is best if we actually help absolutely everybody we can in the location we're at now so they can proceed through this life in the best possible, positive way possible. So if you do, please go out there, share this site out, let people know we're out here. We're here to support them. Have a great night. Next Monday, I will have on another great guest. Her name is Catherine Soralos. She is, I'll be posting out the information tomorrow, but she is a whole lot of everything. Just like Kelli is. There's so much background and so much talent and so much expertise and so much love coming from her, just like it was from Kelli, and it continues to be from Kelli. If you're in the local area, we actually do have Mystic Fest coming up. Go out and check it out. Kelli's going to be there, so you can actually meet her in person. She will be running around just like she normally does, like a crazy woman, but you can corner her at some point. But other than that, have a great night. I appreciate everyone. Much love. And I will go ahead and see you next Monday.